Welcome to another edition of Eye on Jamz Extra. I am Tim Board. Thank you for joining us this evening. Very honored to have Mr. JD in the house, although nobody's in the house anymore with COVID, but very honored to have JD with me on the program. And we already got people saying, woohoo, you're here.
Oh man,
So,
yeah, seeing David saying that. Hey, David, thanks for tuning in, man. That's awesome. Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm excited to be here. We're all collectively in our own houses now, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it's been so long since I've had like real guests over that weren't family members. I don't know how that's going to be if I ever get to do that again.
Yeah, my sister just today she sent me a picture from a live show that she was at that I was playing almost exactly a year ago, and it honestly it just looks so like I can't even get my head around the idea of being in a room with that many people like that. Now it's going to be a weird transition back to normal again too.
Well, kind of talk about that. We'll jump ahead to that right now. Kind of talk about what will it be like for you as a musician to actually be in a room playing on a stage in front of 50, 100, 200, 300 people, whatever the venue capacity is, that you were doing before all of this started.
Yeah, well, I should say that if there are 200 or 300 people in the room, I'm having a good night. But honestly,
I heard you were packing thousands in. I heard you were.
Yeah, well, let's keep that
stadium.
No, yeah, you heard right. That's good. Let's do that. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I'm more nervous about that idea than a year ago. I'd have been like, yeah, let's do that. Let's I'd love to play for the big shows are always really fun. There's a lot of energy in that. I like playing the small gigs for the intimacy of them, but now the big like that many people in a room, I'm thinking about like the air quality. You know what I mean? It's just a different mindset, I guess. So I'm excited about, I think there's a lot of hope this year, and with, the vaccines and these numbers kind of getting a little better. So I'm hoping that we're able to we can all breathe a sigh of relief and then not worry about breathing in someone else's sigh,
Will it be an adjustment for you just doing a show where you're not in front of a camera? You're doing a show in front of people and almost having to interact again with live people as opposed to interacting with comments that pop up on your screen?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it was an adjustment getting to live stream land, and I had done some live streaming already and was comfortable, but like to just go to it all the time. I kind of the one thing that's nice about it is you can interact in real time. Like I'm seeing now, Susan's in the house. Hey, Susan, and David. Like you can kind of interact individually, and like who's there, and they can ask you questions in real time. And that part's awesome. And I like that better than the live show where there's kind of like, there's actually a different kind of barrier, between you and the audience in a live show. And so the dynamic's different, but at the same time, I think my jokes are way worse now, but I don't hear the silence. There's no one not laughing that I can tell. So I give myself the benefit of the doubt. I keep rolling. And so I'm just making like, dad jokes that are getting progressively worse. Whereas if I were on stage, I get a little sharper because I'd be like, oh, that one got a laugh. No one wants me to say that again, So you kind of change your dynamics as you go along, I think. But so some of that kind of interplay with the audience is going to be, it's definitely going to be a transition again for sure.
Well, you don't have to hear the drunk in the back of the room yelling, "Play Freebird" all night long.
That's true. They're usually just like, thumbing down and moving along nowadays. So unfortunately,
and if they post "Play Freebird," you can ignore that comment.
That's true. If you're having a good night, hopefully, people are commenting and like, some stuff can get lost in the mix if it's rude or whatever, I guess. But yeah, you're right. If everyone hears somebody shout Freebird, there's at some point you got to acknowledge those things, I guess, at the live show.
So let's talk about how you got started. How did you get started in music? What was the attraction?
Yeah, well, I started. I really fell in love with just songwriting. So before I ever was interested in, I mean, certainly didn't have any plans of like singing in front of people songs that I've written or anything like that. But I think I have a similar story to a lot of folks. I fell in love with guitar. I was playing a lot of acoustic guitar, and as soon as I kind of discovered that like there's like a like some kind of cerebral connection between playing and singing, and it feels to me like it was definitely like a leap forward. Like I had been playing a lot of guitar and enjoying it, but I never even tried to sing with it. It was its own thing. And then as soon as I understood that I could sing well enough to do both, and kind of like learned how to, maintain the guitar strumming and that kind of thing, and then singing at the same time. And not to say that I was good at it or anything, but like once I kind of figured out like how to think those two things together, then it just took off, and I became really obsessed with just, I wanted to be good at it. I wanted to write songs, and the expression that I could make in a song was like therapy. It was like a personal, like early songwriting for me especially was like definitely just like working through my own personal struggles at the time or whatnot. And so it became this kind of therapeutic escape. And when I went to college, I was just casually writing songs kind of quietly for myself, or myself and the few people that wanted to hear that were close. And then I actually asked there was an advisor in our at my college, at Westminster College in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania, and her name was Camille. And she was in charge of student activities stuff on campus. And I went in, it was like a moment of bravery that I'm grateful for, but I still can't really see myself doing. But I went in, I was like, hey, do you guys ever have like just acoustic, like musicians play songs, or do you ever do like an open mic night or anything like that? And I don't know, she must have just been already in the mindset like, hey, we got to get more music programming or something. But she was like, we don't, but why don't you just book a series? You can bring in whoever you want. I'll give you a really small budget, but you can pay the acts. And she's like, why don't you every Friday you just bring in some artists, and if you can't book somebody and you want to play, you can play. And I was like, I just have like 2 songs, you know what I mean? But it ended up being like the best thing, because it was called Titans Tavern. We were the Westminster Titans, and Titans Tavern was this like little Friday night thing. And it might've been, I think it was Friday. It might've been occasionally on a Saturday, but so I would book these regional bands and campus bands. And then I would get to play very often, as the opener or the closer that night. And it ended up just, I fell in love with both the songwriting, but also that like connection you get with the audience that it's like bigger than you or the audience. It's like this moment where like you can see those people who are with you, that like everybody kind of gets it in a way that you can't speak. And I love that. So getting to write the songs and then kind of that community that forms around it, those two things. What a long way to answer that question, but that's it.
Well, at what point did you realize this is something I wanted to do more than just play, in the classroom, play in the living room? It was something you wanted to pursue as a career.
That's a good question. Yeah, about halfway through college, I was pursuing a business degree at the time, so I just had a business administration trajectory, and I think I was in maybe an accounting class or one of the more numbers-based business courses, and I remember just thinking to myself, like, this guy's doing a great job teaching this. Everyone here seems to want this. But I'm like, I'm losing focus here. And then what I would do is I'd like have a class at maybe 9, and I'd have a 2-hour gap. So I would run back to my room and I try to write a song or I practice guitar. Then I get to the next class, and then I go to the music rooms. They had these practice rooms in the music department. And I wasn't at the time a music student, but I was tolerated. People were very kind. They would let me use one of the rooms, And so I'd work on piano. And I just found myself like automatically wanting to do music. And so eventually I just kind of came to terms with like, listen, I know that this isn't like the job that, maybe my parents saw me getting into, or that I know is like the wise business move. And I was like kind of a business mind, or I was thinking that way. And, but at the same time, I just, I kind of felt like, well, this is obviously what I really want to do. So it was a really scary thing. I feel like I was kind of my own worst enemy in the whole process, but I really just kind of decided to shift gears. So I went to the dean and I talked to him about maybe could I incorporate music classes into my coursework, and we could call it a business or a music business degree. And so they didn't have one like that. Now that's a more common term. You hear if somebody went to like Belmont or Full Sail for music business, but at the time it was just starting to happen. So I ended up kind of proposing this like interdisciplinary major where it was like half music, half business, and they took it and they accepted it. And then I was able to kind of pursue that coursework. It was kind of, I think it saved my sanity, because I got to maintain a lot of the classes and the credits that I had, but kind of like, push it in the direction of music at the same time. So
you've released, we were talking right before we went on there, you released like 4 albums and several EPs, and your EP in 2019, the Compass. Can you talk a little bit about that EP?
Sure. Also, that's so pro that you can bring it up like that. That's awesome. Yeah, so I had put out a couple full lengths with under a band name, JD Eicher and the Goodnights, and then in 2016 I put out a full length as it was more of a solo project, so it was under the name JD Eicher. Still had some of the same musicians on it, but it was kind of a little more personal. And then so I got to that point, and then I had this opportunity to go on the road with Nicholas Sparks, the author of the book The Notebook, and A Walk to Remember and Dear John, and these books that became movies. And I did the soundtrack for his book 2 by 2, which came out in the same year, 2016. So I put out another project very shortly after the full length album called the 2 by 2 EP, and then went on this tour, and it was in support of this novel and the project there. And then after all that, I just kind of like I felt like I had been, a singer-songwriter with a band and a singer-songwriter solo. And I kind of knew that I'd had this one rut and this one sound that I was in that I liked, but I felt like I needed to be kind of uncomfortable and pushed out of the box again. So when I went to record The Compass, I worked with this guy's name's Bill Leffler. He's an LA producer. And so I would work on stuff in my home studio, which you're looking at, which is really just my basement, but just some random gear thrown about and everything. But I would record like some stuff here, and then I'd send it to Bill digitally. And then he would add some stuff, and he would make it sound like way more pop, and then send it back to me. And I would simultaneously be uncomfortable with it and also tell him, like, make me uncomfortable, like push me out of like the zone because if you put me in a room with instruments, I'll play a little guitar, I'll play some piano, there'll be natural sounding drums and a real bass, and it'll just sound like a band, whether it's me or I have my band with me. And so I was like, I like pop and I like slick production. I kind of want to be uncomfortable and like make me do some like weird noises and synth stuff that I would never do, So he would do that stuff, and then we'd argue over it, and then he'd push me. So anyway, so the Compass EP was all about kind of like allowing myself to go a little more in the slick direction and do like a pop type of project. And then there's a demo at the end called Kid, which is just a vocal and keys demo. And that was the song I wrote after I had recorded the Compass EP. And I knew that was going to kind of lead into the next, the next sonic direction. And so that leads into the next EP that we put out, which was Court Street, coming up after that one. So it was kind of just tying together out of songwriter land, so to speak.
The four songs that make up the Compass, the four, you have a fifth song that's an acoustic, and you have the demos. You mentioned Kid, but the four songs, were there other songs that you had considered, or did you just have these songs that you just wanted for this EP?
I think in my recollection, there may have been another tune or two that were kind of in orbit for this, but I knew it was going to be a somewhat smaller release, and some of that was just frankly budget to be able to, at the time when everything was going on, I knew I didn't have I couldn't afford a full length album, and I didn't have that kind of option. But I think I chose I wanted each of those songs kind of says something relevant to the time and where I was artistically, and I thought rather than do 7 songs that and 2 of them are felt more like filler, I would do 4 that I like. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion of those songs, but those 4 felt like they really said something that I wanted to say. So I kind of just kept it tight, I suppose.
And you followed that up with the EP Court Street, and you mentioned the Kid on being Compass, and then the full version on Court Street. 6-song EP here on Court Street. What was the progression from the Compass to Court Street for you musically, as a writer, as a singer?
Yeah. It was a fun progression. The interesting thing, it was the exact opposite kind of approach from the Compass EP. So Court Street was, and it took some nudging from some other musicians around me, but it was kind of like a return to form, to the earliest kind of songs and approach and style that I had kind of entered music land with. So whereas the Compass EP was all there's a lot of programmed drums and digital sounds and stuff. The Court Street EP I recorded with we had 2 producers on it. So Mike Estock, who owns a recording studio about 10 minutes from where I am now in Ohio, and then a good friend and musician, Ryan Humbert, who's lives about an hour from here, but another good friend in the orbit, in the circuit. And so the two of them and I we talked about, what if we made a record where it was like just the band playing our songs live, and we went for like the opposite of the Compass EP. We went for like really natural sounds, and it was more about like getting a really good drum sound rather than like finding really good drum samples, and everything was live. So some of the songs on that record are truly live one takes. Like I think Evergreen is just, that's the band. We played that one time like that. There's no edits on the vocal. I sang it live while I played it with the guys. And then we just laid like, I think maybe like some tambourine and a background, like a harmony vocal on it. And same with I'm Coming Home. That's just one pass, the band playing it live. And I think Lightning is the same. Lightning was a live thing. And then the other ones that are pretty much live, but I think we cut the vocals, on a different day. But the idea was like, make it as raw and as just honest, like here's what this band sounds like. And so it's kind of the opposite approach. And those are horrible business decisions. Like if we had like a manager or a record label that was like really, honest, they would be like, absolutely not. You certainly can't do it like that. What are you going to do? To the polar opposite. But for some reason, that's exactly why I wanted to do it. It was just an opportunity to kind of like be free. And, I don't think I think that the people that I'm able to find along the way, kind of in this indie trajectory as an artist, I don't want to speak for them, but I feel like, a lot of those folks who will commit or listen to or follow or support like an indie band are willing to kind of go on the ride, so I'm whether they like it or not, I'm definitely taking them along for it if they'll come,
One of the things I saw that you had started last year because of everything being shut down was a Patron page and doing some work on Patron. Talk about your decision process to actually do that, and how has it come along since you started it?
Yeah. So for anybody not familiar, it's basically, it's like a fan subscription service, I guess you could say. I always say it's like Netflix or NPR for an artist. And so there are, Patreon has visual artists, it has musicians, of course, and all kinds of different like mixed medium artists. And the idea is like nowadays there it is. That's my page. Thanks, man. That's great. So nowadays, streaming is great for music discovery, but it doesn't really provide, ample funding for indie artists to, support themselves. And especially in this moment, you can't like go out on the road and sell merch and make money on shows and stuff. So Patreon it was always there. It was there for several years, but it became this suddenly this option for artists to create more in the digital space, and then hopefully find those people who are willing to say, yeah, I can do $3 a month and help this guy out. Or, I'm in with this guy. I'm going to give him $10 a month or $12 a month. And the idea is these are called like micro funding is the name of it. So like, maybe, so $3 a month isn't going to be a game changer, but if, 300 people give $3 a month, suddenly, you're making a rent payment or something like that. So, and it's a great platform, and they don't take like a huge commission. It's run by musicians, and it was started by artists. So I've enjoyed it, and I'm like really busy there. I'm trying to make lots of stuff. So I'm making like cover videos. I go live and do like a little live stream concert series thing every Monday night called JD TV. Very egotistically named. And I have a bunch of little things that I really enjoy, and there's a great community of people, and I love them to death. They're keeping me afloat. It's the reason I still have a job. So, as a musician, so I'm gung ho about it. But
has that project caused you to be even more focused about your music and about your marketing and all those other things that an independent artist has to do?
Yeah, definitely. I think prior to COVID, it was kind of like you throw everything you can out there, and you just kind of hope that maybe you could sell a couple CDs here, and we got a gig that's going to pay all right coming up, and it's all going to hopefully, make the mark to pay the bills down the road, and without touring and merch, which was such a huge part. I mean, the number I think was like 175 shows, give or take, a year would be kind of like an average for me. So it was pretty busy, and that was definitely where my bread and butter was. So suddenly that's gone. So now you really, it's just that kind of that adage about, if you take things away, you start to notice where what really matters. And so, yeah, I just kind of realized that I've got to kind of put a lot of eggs into this and be more active online and try to create quality. So it's making me better at like things like video and recording. And I'd love to think I'm getting better at live streaming, but every time I try to upgrade something, everything just implodes on me. But I'm trying, I'm trying to kind of create it like a cool experience and make it a value for the people who would value that.
And I guess I also have to ask the other side of the equation is, how much pushback have you received from fans about going to this subscription type model?
Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah. Well, I mean, by and large, I would say everybody has been very sweet. A lot of folks were just like right out of the gate, were like, you know what, I can swing. The main Patreon level is $6. So, and they're like, I can swing $6 and if it helps them out. And I'm trying to like make a lot of stuff to I think a lot of people are just like, I'm going to help this guy out, but I also want to make sure that I'm like showing that I'm like putting an effort toward it and trying to create extra value for it. But yeah, no, there have definitely been people who are like, why is some of this stuff behind a paywall? And I'll get a message here or there. It's like, I really want to see this, but, and I like, so sometimes the truth is if somebody really wants something that's behind the wall, I'll just get it over to them. I'm not trying, it's not that idea of it was never to be like withholding. It was just like to try to create an avenue to not have to leave the job, So I'm trying to kind of walk that line and be as, I'm trying not to be like a living advertisement for it at the same time, but it's definitely a dance, man. Cause you of course you want it to grow, but at the same time, you're not really like, I'm a musician. I'm not a Patreon salesperson. So it's kind of a tough gig for sure in that regard.
I read it back in 2014. You started a Summer Song Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how you started that and where is it today?
Yeah. Well, my manager at the time, I should give him credit. Tom, he's a good business mind. And he was like, hey, you guys should start a festival. And, it was at the time when everybody was starting a festival, and we didn't have any budget. We weren't going for like some huge deal, but we were like, yeah, that would be fun. And it was we kind of wanted to be like this end of the year. This was end of the summer celebration of like the local music scene. And we would get all of our fans that were willing to come out and could make it. And then we'd bring on some of our buddy bands and people from the area, people we've met on the road. And so the first time we did it, maybe I think 2 times we did it was just in the parking lot of a Quaker Steak and Lube, which is, if you're not familiar, it's a wing joint. And they've been so kind to me over the years. They were one of the first places that would ever let me play. And so they were like, you know what, if you want to, you can take the parking lot on Saturday if you want. And so I brought my like little sound system and we pumped like a full band through it. And we had a bunch of other acts come in. It was fun. It was very homegrown. Like I'm sure everyone there was like, is that the only extension cord you guys brought? Like that kind of thing. But it was fun. And so then we did it again and it grew a little bit. And then at that time, the city of Youngstown, where we're based, Youngstown, Ohio, came and said, hey, we'll give you a little bit bigger budget. Will you come downtown and kind of build it out in one of our, like, as basically like a street festival with, like some food trucks and maybe some craft beer and that kind of thing. And so we were just, we're thrilled. When I say we, like the band and I, and I have a partner. His name is Mike, and we just kind of grew it slowly, and it's still no big deal. I think 500 to 600 people the last couple of years, but I mean, big deal to us. We're we're a very non-famous band, so we're lucky that people come out. And I always feel like it's like you've been playing for like a decade in this region, and we don't have any like huge accolades, but like that day we get to like really both feel good and see everyone there and also kind of like celebrate them and be like, we don't make a lot of money. Like I think the most I've ever made on it is like $260 for like weeks of work. But like, it's just a cool moment where you get like everybody in the same place together, which now sounds like a health risk, but at the time you get everybody together and it's like a celebration of indie music for a day, and it's a blast. So, and we give the bands that come and play, it's a small set, small lineup of maybe like 4 or 5 bands. So everybody plays like a full set, like an hour. And there's like giveaways and stuff. It's fun. I'm sure I answered your question somewhere in there, but I know that was more than what you asked me.
Hey, it's better than just saying, yeah, it's a great festival. Thank you.
I hope so.
Well, if you end up doing it again, let me know. Send word my way. I'm happy to mention it a few times if you ever do it again.
Thanks. I'm hoping we'll all come out of this swinging, and we can do that stuff again. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
What is coming up next for JD? What's on the horizon in 2021 for JD? I know it's unpredictable. We don't know what to expect, but what are things you are planning?
Yeah, well, I've slowly been piecing together a record with the band, and we've had a couple masked recording sessions at that Court Street, that local studio. So not unfortunately not the sessions where we get like the whole team in the one room playing for the obvious reasons, but we've been able to kind of do smaller versions of that safely and work toward a record. So I've got about half of a project recorded, and actually I'm supposed to get some masters on a few songs back on I think Thursday or Friday, so I'm excited about that. So I'm hoping to put out maybe a single or two in the next couple months, leading into the summer, and then hopefully we'll play a few safe outdoor events in the summer. And then I think at that point it's going to depend on, can we tour, safely in the fall, or do we need to wait? But I'm hoping to put out some more music, if it's singles or maybe an EP, if we can get there in the new year. And I'm making a lot, like I said, making a lot of acoustic things and behind the scenes stuff for Patreon, and doing all kinds of weird videos on Instagram and Facebook and just that kind of stuff. But that's career wise, just hopefully put out more music. Again, another long-winded way to say that.
Which do you prefer, playing solo or playing with the band?
It's a good question. When you're solo, you're actually in charge. And so there are moments where that's very nice. Like if something's going wrong, it's a lot easier to get out of that mistake if you're solo. So like, even though then again, everyone knows it's you who made that mistake, so I like some of that. And it's really easy. If I'm solo, I can just roll up, and it takes me like 20 minutes to set up. I play, everything's there, makes sense. You're not, handling and managing like a bunch of personalities or whatnot. But that said, nothing beats the band. When you have like, I just, there's something about just like a good groove, like a good rhythm section. And I'm lucky, Jim and Dylan, my bass and drummer, they've played together for a long time, and they're just like amazing musicians. And so just getting to play with them is like, I'm spoiled, because they just know how to lay it down. And they both kind of have their special flares about them. And then we just started playing with gentleman Mark Lee Shannon, who is just a really good, like he's a guitar player. He's a really good like sound engineer for guitar. Like he'll just find these really cool vibes, and he kind of like fills it out. He's like the depth or the width to the band, I guess you could say. As much as like it's easy and simple to play solo, when you get the band together and things are clicking, there's magic to playing with people that I just can't see not doing it.
I want to give you an opportunity, because it's about time to wrap this up, and I've taken plenty of your time this evening. So I want to give you an opportunity. I want to give you an opportunity to plug, promote any sites that people can go to follow you. I've been throwing up your website up here, but social media, we talk about the Patreon page. Where can people find you outside of your website?
Yeah, the site is always good because everything's linked there. But yeah, I would say I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. I'm on those two places quite a bit. I have a YouTube page with some music videos and some other kind of random live videos and stuff like that. I guess any of those places, wherever folks are, I'd be honored if you check it out. And thanks in advance if you do, for your time and for giving it a listen.
Look forward to hearing new music later this year. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you.
When it comes out, please send it my way. We'll get it on the show.
I will. Man, thanks for having me on. This is awesome. And you're a great interviewer. Seriously, you got a good vibe. I mean, maybe you hear that a lot, but I want to add myself to that list.
Oh, so the 20 wasn't enough. Now you want a $50 bill for that? Okay.
I'm actually, I still have a few compliments. I'm going to push to 100 if I can.
Well, I don't have 100. DJs don't have Patreon pages, so I can't help you out there.
Well, if you ever want to get set up, I can show you the ropes,
I may be calling you on that. JD, I want to thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Man. And like I said, look forward to hearing new music from you later this year. Much success to you in 2021.
Thank you. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we greatly appreciate it. Have a great evening.